because it's so easy and, like, it feels good. Like, the horrible thing that people don't like to admit is that fucking being justified and getting stuck in, it feels good. Like, it's like you're some sort of, like, you're charged with some sort of duty to, like, remove the bad person or whatever. And, like, anyone who says that doesn't feel good's fucking lying. Yeah. Or they've got something else in their mind. Like, it's the same reason, like, young men like fighting or whatever. Like, it feels fucking good to get stuck in. And, like, if you're doing it and you're justified, so many dudes are just waiting for that,
Like, at a certain point it gets very hostile, and I basically say, like, look, in 3 years, I'm going to buy James's fucking estate off of him for pennies on the dollar in bankruptcy court, simply as a way to spite him. And you're going to be wondering why the fuck you supported him right now. Which, I will also admit, read it as a threat, because to a degree, it was intended as one.
But we're just all determined to be the left that eats itself, and it's endlessly frustrating to me. I've been actually blocked by a good segment of trans gaming Twitter. I don't know how big. I don't care that they have me blocked. I'm glad that they have me blocked, but because there's a former game designer and now mostly fiction writer, PH Lee, who wrote a game, like, had a really traumatic childhood and writes games about, those kinds of themes. And someone, like, basically, like, came after them and was like, this game supports pedophilia, and, like, and then was using Gamergate style, like, I have this many mutuals with this person, why haven't you, like, unfollowed and blocked, and, like, that kind of thing, and it's, like, I like, lost my fucking shit.
But, essentially, there was this game designer who wrote 2 games that were about fucking children. That's what they were about.
Literally fucking children? Not hyperbolically?
About literally having sex with children. That's what they wrote 2 games. One of them is more repugnant than the other, because if you can, I would rather they both be considered this, but, like, I'm willing to look at, all right, a 15 and a 25-year-old is not as bad as a 10-year-old and a 45-year-old, but these are both very fucked up situations that people put on a pedestal because this person was an indie darling and no one ever read what they wrote.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. And so this
and
person,
both
David...
felonies, not for nothing.
Yeah, and so this person, David, is defending this on the idea of, like, people need to be allowed to work out their trauma. And it's like, hey, look, I dealt with a lot of child sex abuse growing up. There's a difference between I need to process something, so I'm going to play with some dark imagery, and, hey, actually, doing this with children, it's fucking, like, I feel like shit for doing it, but it's fucking fun, it's fucking hot, and that's exactly what the goddamn context of it is and these things are. And also, these things did not have content warnings about what was contained within, and I only know that specific part of it because I was friends with 3 people who left the industry because they called this out, and that indie darling whipped up a fucking mob to drive them out.
He made it one of his huge things to be against false accusations and to be really into investigating and really saying that, like, if you have not dropped everything to personally, about Plusgate, right? It was called Plusgate. The assertion Jack had was, if you have not personally taken time out of your day to thoroughly investigate whether or not this accusation is true, and you plus a post about it, you are 100% morally on the hook for supporting a false accusation.
Well, I think actually there's something to that. I mean, supporting And actually,
Yeah, there's something to it, but to the extent that he took it, like, yeah, people jump on to mobs way too easy. They repeat stuff they know isn't true. Yes, people do all of that.
So in the NPC rules, well, what do we do? And I was ready to fucking go. I wanted to, attack him like a dog. Like we spent a lot of time crafting the kind of some of those messages that everyone posted on Twitter and everyone posted on Google Plus, like I think it was a hashtag abuse is not a game or something.
Yeah.
That was workshopped in the NPC, picked up people outside of it because they saw everyone posting this stuff in solidarity.
I did not know that.
That's a thing that's happened.
But what I'm wondering is, and a number of people have agreed that even, and I'm making little bunny ears, you just can't see them, but even if everything that Manda and the other women said is not true, it doesn't matter. Like, getting him out of the scene was still important. Would you agree with that?
I think for a lot of people, that's I think that partially at the very least, but obviously the technique applied then is way out of bounds. But I think for a lot of people, they are kind of preemptively dealing with the guilt if it turned out that they were wrong.
Let me find what he says here. So he said, after the accusations, you had a big conversation about it and explicitly changed the rules of the OSR Discord to allow lying. This isn't my interpretation. This is literally the decision you all came to. Lying is okay on the Discord. So that's a good example of the kind of way of thinking that he has.
Okay.
Where, I guess to the letter of the law, yes, we removed the rule that said no lying.
The problem that I have, which you don't have to be concerned with because it's my problem, is that I'm, not first and foremost, but I'm a scientist, and even though it's a soft science and whatever, mathematicians would yell at me, blah, 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 I don't get to say things that I can't substantiate.
Oh yeah, no, I get that, and that's fair. Like, this isn't... Had I pursued any of the career paths I now find full of moral turpitude, all of this is extremely situational evidence at best. It's all hearsay. It's useful in compounding a bunch of other facts, but I'm not going to go to any power that be and use this as the smoking gun to stop this person, because it won't hold any water.
Mild, he was the center of information for everyone. So, he would never, I don't think I ever put him in a lie.
I don't want to believe that someone would either directly or even indirectly threaten someone's children, but of course I know that people do. And,
obviously, yeah.
And and I'm asking you to make kind of a emotional judgment, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that was his intent?
So I don't think so, because he never really said that.
Zach is really hard to handle. I can understand why people don't like him, but I don't like it when people call him transphobic and queerphobic, because I am proof against that. I am trans. I wasn't defending Zach. I was just saying, quit saying he's transphobic, because literally he took a trans artist and put them at the very top of his table. So you don't get to say that. But you know how it is in progressive communities. You can do all the fucked up shit you want as long as you're doing it to the bad guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You can do whatever the fuck you want as long as
Exactly.
it's for the bad guys. That is like,
Yeah, so people like that stuff did happen to Zach and Amanda. Like, I watched her face reading death threats online. Like, that shit did happen.
Just people see a large body and they see someone who is not white and they make a number of assumptions, and like Zach shut shit down with someone using he to refer to my friend. Like, literally stopped them mid-sentence and said, if you keep fucking up, I will throw you out of this fucking game.
And
right?
I think that
there are reasons that he was a person that we admired, you know, on some levels, right? He talked a lot about wanting to leave and not deal with this conflict anymore, you know, and like pass things on to people and exist as a threat that would come back if people fucked with like the people that he wanted to see succeed. And, you know, like, the depressing thing is that, like, you know, the discussion with the three of us that were kind of tapped for a follow-up thing that he was kind of talking about was largely about whether or not we felt okay with, like, that level of proximity, right? Like, we're three adults, and the question wasn't, can we work together? It wasn't, are we friends? It wasn't, is this a way of making money? It wasn't, you know, like, all the questions that you normally have to ask about a project were not there.
Wait, which three adults?
I don't know if this is public information. I think that if you stated this publicly, Zach would ask me to produce evidence, and the answer is most of these conversations were in person. Zach pretty openly stated that he wanted me, Mabel, and Bartery to replace him. He wanted us to do Demon City 2. He wanted, like, basically to give us money and say, write whatever the fuck you want, and bring it to me whenever you think it's good. You know, and I'll edit it, and I'll do art for it, and I'll tell you what to fix in it. But, like, basically, you know, he wanted to be the back end for 3 trans women. Through this, Shu messages me directly, and I say don't, right?
What did the message say?
Fuck if I know. Basically, says, like, stop throwing me under the bus type shit, and I say, like, this is a boundary, you're crossing a boundary. You know, I say that in actually pretty articulate words. I basically say, like, I do not want to have this conversation with you. I do not want to have this conversation in private. There is a power imbalance. I am talking about your role as a mod, and you are directly contacting me.
Okay.
She steamrolls that, info dumps, like, a multi-paragraph explanation about their feelings as though I've read it multiple times, and I refuse to acknowledge it and continue on the server.
Okay.
To a degree, and then, like, go away, and because I'm still getting messages, and, like, you know, and panicking because I don't like conflict, and I don't like any of this shit. I don't like any of it. I don't want it. It is a thing that I would like to be as far fucking away from as possible. I finally go back, I write in the server, you know, this is how I was directly contacted by someone that I am describing. I do not feel safe here. I do not feel like this is a safe space. I do not feel like this is acceptable. I do not think that you can have power if you try to have a private conversation with a person to influence their, like, response. Calling this throwing someone under a bus is, like, fucking insulting. I'm not throwing you under a bus. If I was throwing you under a bus, I would say you're unfit to be a fucking mod because of the fact that you're an unfit person. And I would attack your personhood. If I say the action you took is fucking harmful to people, then I'm talking about the fucking action. And you need to have the fucking adulthood in you to get the fucking cock out of your mouth, get your fucking brain together like anyone gave you something to think with, and fucking imagine that you're not the center of the fucking universe. And people that identify strongly with children as a means of being selfish are people who don't have any fucking ability to be an adult about being told how to behave.